Analyst, where money never sleeps.
It is that time of the morning where we're going to detailed analysis of the newspaper stories this morning. In Lagos, you're listening to Smooth 98.1. This is Smooth Breakfast with Ayo.
And Valentine.
And to start the analysis, actually, is just to analyze all the stories with us this morning. We're joined by two gentlemen this Tuesday morning. We have Justin Ijeh at Justin Ijeh on Twitter. Good morning.
Good morning, world.
Good morning to you. And Mr. FB Allison is Fred. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Lagos, join the conversation by sending us messages through WhatsApp 0809-444-0981.
And you can also send a tweet to us at Smooth981FM. Use the hashtag FreshlyPressed981 for us to track your tweets. And also on YouTube, we're streaming live. Follow us /Smooth981FM.
That's youtube.com/Smooth981FM Lagos. Let's start with our first story.
We'll be going on to the very interesting headline here. APC, PDP trade words over alleged illegal access to INEC server. Now, this is from the Thisday newspaper. Justin, I'll start with you. And the Presidential Campaign Council of APC had written to the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the Department of State Security. They were urging them to investigate the PDP's leadership over alleged illegal access to the server of INEC. Now, PDP have responded. Justin, could you take us through their response? And what's the story?
Okay,
about?
so first of all, just to be sure that none of us is running the risk of arrest,
Yes.
I need to be clear. This matter is before the tribunal already.
Okay.
Because as of last week, Monday, the PDP had taken its case about the presidential elections
So
to the
not
tribunal.
this matter itself, but the fact that PDP is challenging the results of the election is before a tribunal.
Yeah, I
Okay.
get that.
All right, thank you.
So, being clear.
Yeah. Go on.
Okay, so as usual, our fathers are dancing in the marketplace. They left clothes at home, so I don't know what to say to the neighbors' kids. First of all, the PDP comes out.
I think that just summarizes the entire story.
Exactly.
Well, go on.
The PDP comes out and says, "Hey, we have data, and it shows us from that we won." Where did you get the data from? Is a very valid question for anyone to ask. The APC turns up and says, "Oh, you got the data by hacking the server." Now, that's an allegation. That's not a fact. Even though the PDP needs to answer the question of how did you get the data?
Yeah.
And the gentlemen are throwing sticks and stones at each other and basically saying, "Listen, you hacked us. You've hacked the server." They've written the APC has written to the DSS and the IGP of police, asking them to arrest and prosecute anybody, the perpetrators of this server hack, this alleged server hack. And the PDP pushing back through Kola Olobodinyo, who is their National Publicity Secretary, says that the APC is shadowboxing outside the tribunal, that they are afraid and all of this. And like I said, we are trivializing very important, the heart and soul. If we've chosen to practice a modern democracy, the heart and soul of it is the sanctity of the vote. It's shocking and it's humiliating for me as a Nigerian when I see people who should know better, institutions like political parties who should know better, do this kind of things in the public eye, in the eyes of the world. Gentlemen, these are not matters to be joked around with.
Yes.
Casting aspersions in such a flimsy manner, calling each other names, is not something you should be doing when the very heart and soul of what we call a democracy is at stake. If truly, and by the way, INEC hasn't said anything. INEC hasn't said yay or nay as to whether our systems have been compromised, right? INEC is quiet. And we are basically undressing ourselves in front of the whole world. It's a big shame. If this is true that it was hacked, it shouldn't be handled by issuing public press releases and all of that. Yes.
Don't you consider the possibility that INEC silence might just be indicative of there being no issue at all?
Well, first of all, I've asked myself, if I were the INEC chair, I'd probably stay above the fray by letting them talk. If I'm going to talk, trust me, I'm going to wield the stick
Let-
because they are desecrating my process. And I believe I would have to go check the INEC Act. I believe that there must be something in there that gives INEC the power to deal with people who are messing with election results. And what they are doing right now, for me, it's tantamount to messing around with the elections.
Yes, but it's largely media rhetoric. If it's going beyond this and it's actually affecting the INEC process, then I would probably understand. But this is just me playing the devil's advocate. So if INEC is not responding, could it be regarded as them staying above the fray and not reacting to
I would just
mere
look
noise?
at it for, like
And
that way
something
for
to also
now.
consider is that they also have bigger fish to fry. So they're still dealing with elections, supplementary elections. We have the Rivers Coalition coming up in the first week in April.
And this could just be
doubt-
distraction.
Yes, I doubt very much if they would leave all that to come and attend to two big wigs who are, who are arguing about whether someone has hacked when it's before, the matter could be very well taken to court. So until we get a ruling concerning this, we can only see this as allegations and counter allegations.
They need to zip it.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Justin. Move on to Fred. Now, Fred, we have our next story here from the Punch newspaper. Good, bittersweet story. First, another building collapses in Lagos Island, according to this report. But the good news here is that there are no casualties as the building had already been evacuated. Can you please take us through the story?
Yeah, actually, shortly after the collapse that happened a few weeks ago, the Lagos state government had said that they had marked some buildings that were to be brought down, and this actually was one of them. And so it shows the Lagos state government is taking the right steps to prevent the kind of situation that we had a few weeks ago. Exactly. So there wasn't any casualty, but it's just encouraging the act, that they need to get more of these structures that have been marked for demolition to be demolished and demolished.
Breathe.
Don't worry, it happens to the best of us.
to be demolished and to get the people there, the occupants in there. Some of them, a lot of times, are illegal out of the buildings.
All right, now this happened at number 50 Kakawa Street in Campus Square, Lagos Island. Also, just as an addition to that story, it's important to note that from today, the Lagos State has instituted a resettlement camp in Igando, Alimosho local government, and they are able to accommodate up to 500 displaced persons. So this is from the Ita Faji collapse. So from today, they have opened that, and this information was from the ministry, the Commissioner of Information for Lagos State. Now, still on building collapses, Lagos State responses, we have an analysis here from the Vanguard newspaper, and the headline reads, Ita Faji collapse, Architects Council, others call for urban renewal scheme in Lagos Island. So there's been a a large outcry from the experts in this industry. In fact, the built environment professionals have called for the redevelopment of the entire Lagos Island through urban renewal scheme as a matter of urgency. Now, they've actually described most of the buildings on the island, in Lagos Island, as relics, uninhabitable, and unfit to work in. How true is this? Could you take us through the story, Fred?
Yeah, so if you think about Lagos State and Lagos Island is actually one of the first like modern settlement that we have in the country. And off of that, there's been not real planning in how these buildings, first of all, so a lot of these buildings are old, obviously, and can't sustain the modern additions that have come in them, whether they're given additional stories on top. People are building without proper planning. There's no proper, like in the article says, no proper sewage systems and things like that, right? So all of this and then obviously the environment is the floods and things like that have contributed to making these buildings deteriorate fast, right? So what they're proposing here is actually you going in there and modeling or remodeling this whole Lagos Island, right, to bring it up to speed. But obviously there are drawbacks, like what do you do with the people, what do you do with the folks that are already there, so they're suggesting a lot of things like, okay, we can take them, the government can accommodate and
so resettle them in another area.
to them and also compensate the landlords and
Mhm.
people that already have properties there. So there's a lot more to it. It's not just as easy as saying that we
Yeah.
should, remodernize this area.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it. But it's a good thought, but it takes a lot more to get this done though.
All right. Yeah.
Just for what's to the comments in the article, they've cited examples like Morocco, Ijeh, and Dolphin in Ikoyi. Remember, particularly with Morocco, that the residents were resettled, and they were. So what typically happens is that the government would rehouse the landlords, and in some cases, once it's been remodernized, once it's been modernized, the landlord gets to get a house in that area in some cases. But ultimately, what it does happen is that we are looking at how to prevent issues like this, where houses have been built centuries ago and cannot face, have gone through weather hazard and different, and years do not collapse again. So maybe this is something to think about. Should the Lagos State government, should they undergo an urban renewal scheme in Lagos Island?
It's an ongoing question, very critical for the present and going forward, really. Let's take messages on WhatsApp. Remember that number 0809-444-0981. We have this one from Big T. It says, INEC hack. INEC wouldn't say anything or won't say anything because the matter is judicial. Our leaders are big babies, he said, name calling and throwing tantrums over serious legal issues. Is it true prepared elections or pre-prepared results were done? Did INEC get hacked? Are the results false? Was there massive rigging? Serious issues? Well, they are busy name calling. And then Ayomide says, I do not know if PDP is confused or something. No one is saying that you shouldn't challenge the results of the elections, but shouldn't you do it with common sense? He said, or rather she said, that Atiku should just take cue from Adeleke when Oshun results were out. He only stated he was going to court. No interview, no media noise making. He only carried the business to court. And now, at least to the best of my knowledge, INEC was issued or had issued him a certificate of return.
No, they haven't issued
not
him a
yet. Yes,
certificate
so, but I mean, just following the
court
progress.
has ruled. Yeah, the court has
All this cat and rat thing, she says, are going at the presidential level is just very embarrassing. We should line them all up and give them strokes of the cane. Very interesting. Harry Dixon says, INEC should be the one to speak out if truly the server was hacked and not APC government, who could not. Nigerians lost their lives in the just concluded elections and nothing was done but about the ugly electoral process to ensure that 2023 elections will not have a repeat of the evil activities played out in this present election. Thank you, Henry. Let's move on now.
All right, thanks for your comments. Please keep them coming. We'll still go through some of them as the show progresses. Now, Fred, I'll stay with you for this one. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, said yesterday that human trafficking is a major internal security challenge in Nigeria. And this is according to the Vanguard newspaper report. Could you please take us through this story?
Yeah, so there's actually an agency that deals with human trafficking. And the article was saying, the inspector of police was saying that they're going to work hand in hand with this agency because this is one of the things that's really affecting our security, to make sure that there's better steps and better processes to be able to track, human trafficking and smuggling of immigrants too, actually. So it's a straightforward article just in regards to one of the things that affect our society as a whole. Obviously we know about a lot of things that are also happening in the West or in Europe where people again losing their lives trying to make it to better conditions. So this is something, so if we can nip it from the origin, it helps. Yeah.
And just to add that the IG has said they're working with the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, to track this. Currently, Nigeria ranks 32 out of 167 countries in the world with the highest number of what the United Nations what they declare or what they regard as slavery, modern day slavery in terms of human trafficking.
And also, to be honest, if the economy is better, if there are more options for Nigerians here and in their immediate locale, it helps. When you're eyes with like better opportunities somewhere else and you have false information, that's a lot of how people get entrapped into this situation where they're they give themselves willingly, not knowing what's going to happen, when they get to where they go to.
Uncertainties.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But then the grass is greener on the side you water it.
Yes,
True.
so the government needs to water.
So-
Elephant in the room.
Well, it's last class, there's no light. So the Guardian newspaper has this next headline that's a bit dramatic. Confusion in Rivers APC or Rivers AAC APC as Yeeh defects
Yeah.
to PDP. I don't know, when I was reading this headline, I saw clouds hovering, but it's not a comical story. It's rather lengthy, but it speaks to I'll say a stretched out drama that's going on in River State. From the outlook here, from the details of this story from The Guardian, it shows that the deputy governorship candidate for the AAC party, he apparently defected to the PDP and made some very serious allegations against the PDP, against Rotimi Amechi himself, saying that he was enticed. Him and his governor or governorship candidates, they were given a mandate and made to sign an undertaking, an undated undertaking. He himself was made to sign that, a resignation, that they were given 10% control of the government. So many allegations. But take us through this story, Justin, and the drama that ensued.
I'm an interested party, right?
Just
Not a
joking.
political party.
Just joking. Interested to the extent that, hey, I'm a Port Harcourt boy. I was born and raised in Port Harcourt. But it saddens me to see what the city of my birth has degenerated into because of what the political class is up to. So Mr. Akbo Bomba, that's his name, is officially, because regardless of what he said, his name is on the ballot.
Yes.
He is the deputy
Governorship candidate.
Guba aspirant for the AAC. Right, that's the party that had Omoyele Sowore as the presidential
candidate.
right?
Yes. And AAC, African Action Congress.
Yes, the African Action Congress, Sowore's party. So this is the backdrop to what's going on. You would all recall that Mr. Rotimi Amechi of the APC had endorsed and backed the candidate of the APC, but they ran into troubled waters because their internal democracy went
And
left,
the courts nullified
and the courts
primaries.
nullified their primary, so they couldn't field a candidate at the Guba elections in Rivers State. 2 days before the election, both Mr. Amechi and the candidate for the APC, one of the factional candidates, Mr. Tony Cole, openly endorsed the AAC candidates, who were serious underdogs in the political scheme of things in Rivers State. They were completely unknowns. So the election went on and got suspended midway. And while we're waiting for INEC to take us forward on that, Mr. Akpobomba Yeeh has come out to open a can of worms. He's told people should go read the story. He's given a very detailed account of what had allegedly gone down between them and Minister Amechi, who had told them, listen, we're going to make you win the election. We'll bring in the DS, we'll bring in the security forces, we'll win the election for you, but you will not control the government. We will give you your commissioners, your heads of agencies, we will give you your House of Assembly people and all of that. You will take instructions on all the financial and fiscal decisions of the state. Basically, we will control the state. You guys just sit there and look pretty.
Allegations.
Allegedly. And he's saying this at the government house in Rivers State, where he has just gone to declare his resignation from the AAC and his support for Wike, and Wike being the best thing that happened to Rivers State since sliced bread, according to him. And they've issued this public statement.
And then,
and while they are doing all of this, Rivers people are suffering. Port Harcourt, when I was a child, Port Harcourt was referred to as the Garden City, and it was the Garden City.
Very peaceful.
Very peaceful, hospitable place. Right now, my mother told me not to visit last December.
It's interesting and worrisome all at the same time, but we will see, especially following the decisions of the process being undertaken by the Independent National Electoral Commission. We'll follow the story very closely to see
Yeah, but
the
INEC has.
results.
I mean, we're not INEC. Some people have, just to round this up.
Reactions, yes.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, regardless of what he said, I alluded to this earlier. He is still on the ballot. So if they call for a rerun tomorrow, he is still on that ballot as the AAC candidate, because he is a candidate, deputy or whatever. You are a candidate.
Because
So,
there were questions around the legal ramifications
yeah,
of him.
it's only legal
defecting at this
after
point.
election results have been declared, and then you can.
Not before.
Not before.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Justin, for that. Now, let's move very quickly to The Guardian, to this next story. Now, MOSOP, the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People, they've described the federal government's 3.039 billion naira expenditure on Ogoni cleanup as the biggest scam, using it to resume oil explorations in the Niger Delta region. We recall that the presidency had on March 1st, 2019, signed a memo through the Chief of Staff to the President, Abekere, and addressed to the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, to take over the operatorship of the Shell Petroleum Development Company and the entire OML 11, not later than April 30. But seeing the reactions from not just MOSOP, but from other stakeholders, they're calling this move as, they say there's an ulterior motive to this, but your thoughts on this?
There are two angles to this. Well, let me make it three. So first of all, I'll just three we just discussed. So these are the things that should keep the government and administration in Rivers State busy, and not the kind of dirty fighting that we hear coming out of there every time the election cycle comes around. The UNEP, the United Nations Environment Program report, came out years ago and made very clear recommendations about what should be done in Ogoni land. And Ogoni land has been desecrated, really. It's very bad by oil exploration. And the people of Ogoni land have lost so much materially, psychologically. If the phrase the Ogoni 9 means anything to you, you would remember that Ken Saruwiwa and 8 other leading sons of Ogoni land were summarily executed by the Abacha administration because of their agitations for the environmental situation of their land. Now, the United Nations stepped in. Now, Shell is the operator of the OML 11, the operating marginal fields in the Ogoni area. Operating mining lease, in Ogoni area. The UNEP report said, listen, what you need to prioritize in cleaning up this place and making sure the lives of these people are not totally destroyed is provision of water and soil remediation, because the water has been polluted. They cannot farm. Ogonis were predominantly an agrarian economy. They can't farm because of the spillage. So the UNEP report said, clean up their water, do soil remediation, and set up a soil management center there. Years have passed. It still hasn't been done. Shell has allegedly been playing politics with it, taking photo ops and claiming that they're doing something and all of that. So the Ogoni people have come out recently and said, listen, Nigerian government and Shell, you guys can't take us for granted forever. You need to come and do the right thing and stop making PR stunts. That's one angle. The other angle is, so out of the Niger Delta, we always see these groups pop up, calling themselves the NGOs. It's a big business, right? I'm deliberate to use the word business. They call themselves advocates of the people. They masquerade as crusading for causes that are germane to the people, but people are really just out for pockets. Now, I'm not saying these two groups named here are, but if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, probably is
sounds like one. But don't you think they're fighting for a good cause, regardless
so
of their
here's the
intentions?
thing. What cause are they fighting? The president sent out a memo saying, listen, NNPC, we've had enough. The summary of the president's memo was, there's enough of this trouble in Ogoni land. Shell simply can't manage it. Take that mining lease away from Shell and get some other people to go handle it. Personally, I don't think there's any way Shell can ever work in Ogoni land again.
Because they've lost trust in the
They've
people.
lost trust. The people don't believe they will not work with Shell. So the president said, okay, take it from them, give it to somebody else, whoever that is, that's secondary. But report back by May 29 and tell me that this takeover has happened. Now, these two groups, these two NGOs, I won't even name them, are coming out and saying they have a problem with Mr. President's directive. In the same breath that you're saying that Shell is not doing the right thing. So what exactly do you want?
That's the big question this morning. What exactly do the people of Ogoni land want?
No.
These people are not the people of Ogoni.
Well, they're not the people.
Yeah.
The
They're not the people,
seeking or saying that they're representing the Ogoni land people. All right, moving on to our comments. Orumbe Mayowa on Twitter says, if APC gets all worked up over claims by PDP that they have access to actual election results, does this imply the result being celebrated is not the position of things? Question right there. And then Benga Akomo on WhatsApp says the relocation and the settlement of Morocco residents was done during the military era. I think it's the proper thing to do, but the issue always is fairness and objectivity in the exercise, because years on, it can be a subject of litigation.
All right, let's move on. Thank you for your messages. Keep them coming so we can read them here on Freshly Pressed 91. For the next story from the Premium Times, from the Vanguard newspaper, we have this next story that reads, the federal government, we need extra 142 billion naira for new terminals, as from the federal government addressing the Senate. They said the need of this to provide for new terminals across the country, highlighting the efforts being made in rehabilitating the already existing ones at Port Harcourt, in Abuja, and claiming intentions really to establish extra terminals. We still see that the aviation sector is asking for these efforts to be made, because we find that recent efforts actually have been coming up, and the Nigerians are still asking the question, what happens to Nigerian Air? Because it's in this conversation as well. But Fred, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so basically they're asking for $461 million in addition to $500 million that they'd received from the China Exim Bank. But in all of this, I'm not sure if we're approaching airports and airport structures in a modern way, So when you look at other airports, like the one in Schiphol in Amsterdam, it generates income. It's not like, oh, we're just sinking, money in there and we're just building this infrastructure.
But the Nigerian ones generate income. You have sections of the airports. I mean, you pay for trolleys, don't you?
Trolleys from $1 piece. That's how we're generating income. I mean, like proper, thought process in as you design these airports with the aim of it being because so in some of these airports there are a lot of stopovers, and just from stopovers the amount of money that is generated from people that are just passing through, right? And we know we have a lot of people flying into Nigeria for different reasons, right? So my goal is just can they also think about this with the addition of thinking that this structures that are being built is not just, okay, let's get all this money, and then we can see that. So if we see examples of, okay, Abuja airport has now been remodernized or whatever it is, and we can see how effective it is, and it's not just in the, oh, look at how it appears to look, and that even deteriorates over a short period of time.
Because that would encourage international airlines to even operate on those locations, and if we see those technological advancements at those locations, that would actually improve on the economy.
And it'd be easier to make your case to get more funded, know.
Can I speak?
Yes. Justin, very quickly.
So there are some airports that have existed for years in the country on very busy routes that haven't had basic infrastructure like instrument navigation. That's very young airports. Instrument landing systems are non-existent.
No, don't say they are non-existent. We have instrument landing systems. They are just outdated.
So they are non-existent.
Perspective.
No, they are existent.
It's outdated means you don't use it.
They use it,
but maybe they have to call.
But it just doesn't provide some
Benin Airport, Usubi Airport, Warri is a route I frequent. Cancellations are more frequent than actual operations. Do you know why? That area is prone to a bit of fogginess.
Yes.
Right? And there are no instrument landing systems. Valentine, if you cannot use it, it doesn't exist.
It does exist. If that your roof is leaking does not mean it does not exist.
You have no roof. Wait, let the rain fall now. When water is dripping all over the place.
You just have an umbrella.
You have something covering the roof.
All right.
All right, quick messages here on WhatsApp before we wrap up the show. This one is from Oboma Chidozie.
Ogoma says, good morning, guys. For some of us that are throwing insults around on the illegality of hacking the INEC server, let me ask the question. Do people ask people like WikiLeaks where they get their information? And Mairo had recently alluded to the fact that from precedents, you can actually admit, as long as it's admissible.
Is a criminal organization in a lot of places. That's why the founder was in exile.
Thank you very much for clarification. But in terms of precedents, Bayo has stated that you could admit it's admissible in court. However, you can, institute a separate case to prosecute for illegal, obtaining of
tainted evidence.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Fred. Find them up on Twitter at Justin Ijeh, at Mr. FB Allison, Lagos. Stay tuned. We're coming up with entertainment stories inside of the Grapevine in 14 minutes.
I invest
Yeah.
where money never sleeps.